So, as I'm sure most of us remember, the Paris 2024 Olympics last summer brought a lot of controversy with it. There was the weird Last Supper parody that they had at the opening ceremony, and Rachel Gunn's head scratching entry into breakdancing. And it really seemed like this once heavily respected event was being turned into a total mockery. But what really blew up was the situation with Algerian boxer Imane Khelif, as people, including myself, were heavily speculating that this individual was a male. And not just because of his looks, but because, let's be real, this person is built like a tank. But because he has an F on his passport, the Olympic Committee basically told everybody to sit down and shut up and not believe what we were seeing with our own eyes. However, fast forward to today, and while those of us were called hateful bigots for calling out exactly what was going on, as we usually do, a leaked medical report just confirmed Imane's biological sex, and now he's being told he has to take another sex test before he can compete in his upcoming boxing event. So if Imane really is a woman, this should not be a problem. So we're going to get into what was revealed, but before we get too much further, I am Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here. Please hit the thumbs up button on this video, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you so much for doing both of those things. So here we are talking about the issue of men in women's sports again, as this is a conversation that I think we can agree has been going on for far too long, but I think we can also agree that this is something that we never should have had to debate about in the first place. Just to review the facts, and I'm going to say it louder for those in the back. You are either born a male or a female, and your physiological makeup is immediately imprinted on every cell of your body from the time of conception. And it affects your mental, your psychological, your emotional, and your physical development long before you are born. And of course, along the way, every single person develops preferences and interests that place you somewhere on the spectrum between the extreme masculine and the extreme feminine. But regardless of those outward demonstrations, the facts still remain. You are either male or you are female. And yes, of course, there is a very, very small percentage of the population that are born with atypical sex conditions, or DSDs, which stands for differences in sex development, but they still lean one way or the other, and there are still dominant traits that push them one way or the other. And it has been suggested that Imane Khelif was one of those people who had been born with one of these DSD conditions. And we were all willing to recognize this as a possibility, but it is still abundantly clear that this person is dominantly male. And we were even open to the idea, which is actually horrifying if you think about it, that if it were true that they were raised female, that he was pushed in the wrong direction. But media coverage of this situation, and pretty much any situation involving a man competing in girl sports, was not open to any other possibility that because this person's passport said female, that they were a female, and that was it. This is an article from ESPN at that time. It says, Algerian boxer Imane Khelif won a gold medal Friday at the Paris Olympics, emerging a champion from a tumultuous run at the Games where she endured intense scrutiny in the ring and online abuse from around the world over misconceptions about her womanhood. It says fans have embraced Khelif in Paris, even as she has faced an extraordinary amount of scrutiny from world leaders, major celebrities, and others who have questioned her ability and falsely claimed that she was a man. It has thrust her into a larger divide over changing attitudes toward gender identity and regulations in sports. We should not have a changing attitude about gender identity and regulations in sports. We should have the line drawn in the sand that was drawn years ago with Title IX, saying that women compete with women, men compete with men. You will never change my attitude about that. Going on, it says, it stems from the Russian-dominated International Boxing Association's decision to disqualify Khelif and fellow two-time Olympian Li Yuting of Taiwan from last year's World Championships, claiming both failed an eligibility test for women's competition that IBA officials have declined to answer basic questions about. I'm fully qualified to take part in this competition, Khelif said Friday. I'm a woman like any other woman. I was born a woman. I live as a woman, and I'm qualified. The International Olympic Committee took the unprecedented step last year of permanently banning the IBA from the Olympics following years of concerns about its governance, competitive fairness, and financial transparency. The IOC has called the arbitrary sex tests that the sport's governing body imposed on the two boxers irretrievably flawed. Irretrievably flawed, I'm going to assume that it's because it demonstrated or it proved exactly what we know about the biological reality going on here, but sex tests are not woke, so they disagreed with the outcome of the results. But even the narrative in this article is a problem, because I'm not a woman because I was raised a woman. I'm a woman because that is what is indicated by science and biology. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a blood test when I was 11 weeks gestation with her, and it was confirmed that she was a girl. There was no deciding that she was going to be raised as a girl. She was female at the moment of conception, and I didn't need to have discussions about hormones or feelings in order to know what she was. And just because the woke mob has managed to take over even official documents like your passports and has said that, well, if your passport says it, then you're a female, you still can't change scientific facts and biological reality. Speaking of biological facts, the report that has gotten people in an uproar now and has us revisiting this entire conversation is as such. It says medical report leaked that proves Imane Khelif is biological male. Sex test results published online, which debunk IOC's stance on controversial Olympic champion. In this article by the Daily Mail, it says the results of a medical test on Olympic champion Imane Khelif at the 2023 World Championships have suggested the boxer is biological male. The alleged results come less than 2 days after World Boxing ruled that Khelif would need to undergo sex screening to be eligible for any future appearances in female events. Khelif was deemed eligible to compete in France despite World Boxing having known about the 2023 test more than a year earlier, with IOC President Thomas Bach previously questioning the test's legitimacy. Chromosome analysis reveals male karyotype, the document seen by 3 Wire Sports via Telegraph Sport states. Conservative activist Riley Gaines also weighed in, referring to Khelif with male pronouns and saying, to all the people that insisted Imane Khelif was a woman because his passport said so, you were wrong, we were right. Sincerely, people with functioning eyes and a shred of honesty. Results reportedly have a date of being collected on March 17th, 2023, the same year that Khelif was disqualified by the International Boxing Association, the former governing body for the sport, for failing gender eligibility tests. The document claims to have come from Dr. Lal Path Labs in New Delhi, a laboratory which is accredited by the American College of Pathologists and certified by the International Organization for Standardization. The report was initially published by the journalist Alan Abrahamson, who first brought reports of Khelif's alleged failed gender eligibility test to public attention at the Paris Games. So just so we're all clear, this is a man. I don't care how you were raised. I don't care what your passport says. Just because far too much of society has accepted insanity and delusion as fact, and that my truth is the only truth that matters, you can only ignore reality for so long before the truth jumps out and punches you in the face. You know, as Angela Carini had to endure. She was the one who backed out seconds into the match because Khelif's punch was far above anything else she had ever experienced, and there was something clearly wrong with this person being allowed in the ring with her and other females. So yes, Imane Khelif is a male, and Imane Khelif is going to have to go through another sex test to determine, again, the biological reality that we already know that will determine if he should be allowed to compete against women or if he should be competing against men. Because despite what the angry libs are going to scream about, I agree that Imane Khelif should be allowed to compete in sports. He should absolutely be allowed to box and to earn his place in this sport through his hard work. And he should do it the same way that women have to do it, against people who have the same biology that they do. These girls are playing fair, and men should have to do it as well. Any other position is strictly, indisputably anti-woman. I also think that every single woman who lost out on their shot at winning a gold medal in the Olympics because they were forced to compete against this man, they should sue, because we're not just talking about any sporting event. This is a global event that only comes around every 4 years, and they had this shot ripped away from them. And every single time that this happens, regardless of the sporting level, whether it be in high school or the Olympics, we are ripping away a girl's shot to progress. And it's a progression that they have earned through their hard work, work, their dedication, and their discipline. They don't get to just wake up one day and decide that they're a man and suddenly have the strength and speed to make it fair for them to compete against these guys. They are born the way that they're born, and so are men, and a line in the sand has got to be drawn. Anyway, I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please, again, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to support my channel in other ways, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the pinned comment below, and I truly appreciate all of your guys' support. Other than that, keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.